Hello everybody, my name is Cody bringing us yet another video, and in today's video, we're going over the monk as a whole. So, on Saturday, I was able to go over both videos went out about the whole subclasses. Sunday was not able to get this video up, so this video is going to come out today, here on Monday. So, as I've said, there are times when I can get it out in time, there are times when I don't get it out in time. Uh, you know, Time has never been exactly on my side, but hey, it gets out, hopefully within a decent enough time span that it's not coinciding with other uploads about a different thing. So we get to go over the monk now. Subclasses that we can have gone over. So if you want to know more about them, then go ahead and watch those two videos. Upcoming for the next class, I believe is the Ranger. So we'll get to see, our nice little bow and arrow friend who just kind of shows you what it's like to be a proper bowsman, hunter type of character who, you know, survivalist type of thing. We'll see what that's all like once we get to it. But for now, I gotta talk about the monk as a whole. Monks are some people's favorite class. Some people really like the monk. I like the monk, don't get me wrong, but if I'm gonna play a martial character, it's the fighter. That's personal bias, of course. Maybe you like the monk more. You like what you like. At first level for the monk, y'all are a D8 class, so you get 1 D8 at the per monk level. You start with 8 plus your constitution, and then you'll also gain 1 D8 per level, or 5 if you're just doing a fixed rate, like I do a lot of the times, plus your constitution per level. So you are a you are a fairly hardy class, I would say. If you're gonna be, you're not gonna be as hardy as the barbarian or the barbarian or what's the other one? Barbarian or the fighter? Or paladin. Actually, I think paladin's next, not ranger. Yeah, paladin's next. Alphabet, guys. Yes, paladin is next, who I believe is also a D10. We can go over all that when we actually get to it. They are a very fun class. So, but this is what we're going over for the monk. So, for the monk, your proficiencies at first level, you'll have no armor, as you can see by this little ability, Unarmored Defense. Your weapons will be simple weapons and the short sword. You have tools. You can choose an artisan tool or a musical instrument. And then your saving throws are strength and dex. And your skills can be from acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, and stealth. A lot of the times, choosing something like acrobatics and athletics, you a lot of times, obviously as I said a couple of times, you usually like to choose a proficiency that kind of builds off of what your stats are. If you're going to be a dex-based monk, which I would recommend a lot of the time, choosing something like maybe like acrobatics and stealth because they're both stealth-based. They're both dex-based. Acrobatics and athletics because one of them is dex, the other one's strength. History is intelligence, and then insight and religion are both wisdom. You are a dexterity wisdom-based character, so choosing something like acrobatics and insight wouldn't be too bad of a thing. And then, of course, whatever tool you want from here. These probably won't have too big of anything, so this one is kind of like, what do you want from it? Like how do does your character want your character to be stuff to do with alchemy? Do you want your character to be able to play the flute? This one, because it doesn't quite matter as much as like something like the artificer or like maybe types of like fighters or something. This ones are like, kind of whatever you want to be, really. So, just something like smith tools or whatever. Next, you get Unarmored Defense. It's similar to the Barbarian, who also gets Unarmored Defense, which is basically at first level, as long as you have no armor and not wielding a shield. Barbarians are allowed to wield a shield, but monks are not. Your AC will be 10 plus Dex plus Wisdom, so playing a Dex-based monk, starting out with like 4 dexterity or something, and then, or even 20 potentially if you're able to roll that well. You can have either like a +4 realistically and like a +2 or +3 to wisdom, having 16 or 17 AC, and then that goes up, of course, with as your dexterity and your wisdom improve. By max level, you're getting like a +5 from each, or like a +6, +5 type of thing. So you're getting, for not wearing armor, you're having an AC of 20 or 21. It's pretty good. It's also really great because unlike other classes where, you're kind of having to like upgrade your armor from time to time and choose, do like what special parts of the armor do I want? Do I want the +1 armor? Do I want an armor that has resistance? Do I want an armor that can do this? You never have to worry about that, or even like having to have one of your things that you're attuned to, one of your attunement items. You never have to worry about that being armor, so you actually kind of free up a slot because of that. So you can actually choose from more things to help you attack people, to move, probably not movement speed, but if you want movement speed, if you want more protection like a ring of protection, cloak of protection, anything like that, this one actually really helps in the fact that you don't need, because you're not wearing armor, you're actually getting a pretty good benefit because of that. And then next, you'll get martial arts, which allows you to gain the following benefits from yada yada, all this type of stuff. Basically, which are short swords and monk weapons, short sword and the melee weapons that are not two-handed or heavy. So you got to be doing one-hand type of things. And when you're using one of your attacks, you can use your dex instead of your strength for the unarmed, distracted monk weapons. So instead of having, so you can really focus on dex in this case, as you can solely focus on dex, not really having to care about strength. You can roll a d4 in the place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike or monk weapon. This die changes as you gain monk levels, as shown in the martial arts column of the monk table. So naturally, when you're unarmed, it's usually just a flat 1 plus your strength modifier. So it would just be 1 plus, it really only would benefit like the fighter or the barbarian who would be focused on strength. You wouldn't do this if you were, something like a rogue or something of a spellcaster who doesn't need to focus on strength. This allows you to now actually be rolling a die, which means that rather than always having like a flat, 1 plus your 2 strength or something, you can get a 1d4, so you can get, like average of 2.5 technically, so it's like 2 or 3 every time, plus your dex, which is going to be 4. So instead of just getting 5 every time, you can get 5, 6, 7, or 8, and this increases in damage, I believe, up to a d8. So you can start rolling d8 worth of damage, and that's really beneficial, as you now do a lot more damage with what your class is supposed to be doing. And also, when you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon on your turn, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. For example, if you take the attack action and attack with a quarterstaff, you can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already used the bonus action for something else. And then some of the monasteries or the subclasses allow you to have different types of monk weapons, such as the nunchucks, or a sickle, a kama, or the kensai, who you can get like a lot of weapons that are technically your kensai weapons, and those can kind of start adding to what you should be getting, and it really can add to what you do and how powerful you can be, and it's actually kind of cool. At second level, you learn how to use your ki, which you'll have a limited amount of ki points, which is equal to number of points that you have on your ki point table. So it doesn't matter how high your stats are, you'll always have the same amount as any other monk, depending on the level. Your proficiency bonus for any ki save DCs, which none of these do, but you can get a like stunning strike or open hand technique can do some stuff. It would be 8 plus proficiency plus wisdom, which is why wisdom should be your second highest stat, because that is what a lot of ki related things are using, as your wisdom. You can take Flurry of Blows, which allows you to take 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action after taking the attack action. So instead of just the 1 that you get from martial arts, you can now take 2 if you spend a ki. Patient Defense, which allows you to take the dodge action as a bonus action, or Step of the Wind, which allows you to take the disengage or dash action as your bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. So it can really, if you're trying, all of them are extremely beneficial. If you really want to be dealing a lot of damage, getting a lot of attacks in, getting 3 attacks in for the cost of 1 ki point, it's basically 1 ki equals 1 extra attack, because naturally you can take your bonus action to do an unarmed strike, according to this right up here, your martial arts ability. So this one is just 1 ki point for an additional attack on top of it, so it's actually kind of cool. Patient Defense allows you to take the dodge action as a bonus action. The dodge action causes for all attacks against you to be at disadvantage now, so it's makes it to where you're a lot harder to hit, as people have to take the lower of 2 rolls. Step of the Wind is if you really need to be gaining, a lot of distance as something, or if you want to be getting, you need to get out of harm's way, you can take the Disengage. And then if you need to jump further, which probably doesn't come up as often as it seems. So definitely the Disengage and Dash actions as your bonus action. Very good. And then Unarmored Movement. Your speed increases by 10 feet while you are not wearing armor or wielding a shield. This bonus increases when you reach certain monk levels, as shown in the monk table. At 9th level, you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during the move. So, nifty little thing there. Let's start closing all of this. Next, at 3rd level, you'll get your Monastic Tradition. So, you get a lot of bonuses from that, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about what every monk gets. Like, every monk at 3rd level will get Deflect Missile, which basically is going to say that anytime a ranged attack is against you, and this is a physical ranged attack, it couldn't be something like a spell against you or anything. This is, somebody shot a crossbow, somebody shot a bow and arrow, somebody threw a weapon at you. You can use your reaction to spend it to reduce the damage by 1d10 plus dex plus monk. So right off the bat, you'd be rolling a d10, average of 6 if I'm not mistaken. So you get 6 plus your dex, which would be 4, plus your monk level, which at the time would be 3. So it's 6 plus 4 plus 3. So on average, you'd be reducing it by 13 damage there. And if you reduce the damage to 0, you can catch the missile, and if it's small enough for you to hold in one hand, and you have one hand free, then you can also spend a key point to then throw the attack back at the enemy. So if an enemy, shoots a bow and arrow at you, you catch it, you reduce the damage to 0, you can then just throw it back as a key point, and your range will be 20 feet to 60 feet, and it counts as a monk weapon, which, as a monk weapon, it basically means that you'll be throwing it back for a d4 plus dex. So it's actually a really nice thing, being able to reduce incoming damage from range attacks, as you probably will be targeted a lot more being a frontline fighter. At 4th level, you'll get an ASI and Slow Fall, which you can then allows you to use your reaction to reduce any fall damage that you take by 5 times your monk level. So right off the bat, it'll be 5 times 4, which is 20. At max level, it'll be reducing fall damage by 100, which basically means that you can jump off of pretty considerable heights and not have to really worry about taking too much damage. This doesn't slow your fall in any way, so you're still going to fall at the exact same speed. You just will reduce how much damage you take. So it's not like Feather Fall, where it reduces how fast you fall. It's going to reduce the damage you take. At 5th level, you'll get Extra Attack, which is when you use the attack action. You can attack 2 times in the same action instead of 1. And Stunning Strike, which allows you to, when you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can send ki throughout their body to attempt to stun the enemy. You're forcing them to make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they are stunned until the end of your next turn, which means that if you did this right off the bat, you can then do Flurry of Blows, getting 2 additional attacks against a stunned target, meaning that they're at advantage. Your whole team will be doing will have all of their attacks against them, and on their turn, they just cannot do anything, and they're still stunned until the end of your next turn, which means that when your turn comes back around, if they're still alive at that point, you can then get all of your attacks in, still at advantage, because they're still stunned for that whole time. They are afflicted by it for a very long time, so it's a very big beneficial thing that you get from that, and it's definitely something that you want to be using when you can. At 6th level, you'll get Ki Empowered Strikes, which allows your unarmed strikes to count as magical for overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. So, of course, your fist will be counting as bludgeoning damage, or I guess it can be slashing damage if you're like a Tabaxi or something who, your unarmed strikes can count as slashing by using your claws. Any enemy who is resistant or immune to non-magical slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing damage, you now count as magical, so you don't have to worry about those resistance and immunities. And you also get Unarmored Movement, which means that your speed increases to 15. So normally, like most races will have 30. At 6th level, you'll have 45 movement speed. It is not saying something that I've had a couple people mistake this for. Is it saying that you're getting unarmored movement, you'll get increases by 10 feet, and then it increases by 15 feet. Like, it increases by 10, so you're at 40, and then you add 15 to 40, but it is just saying that you go from 10 to 15, so you're just adding 5 when you're not wearing armor wielding a shield. Still, you're moving 45 feet per movement, which is a lot of movement and is very beneficial to have. At 7th level, you'll gain Evasion, which allows you to, when something forces you to make a dexterity saving throw, that would allow you to take half damage from it. You can then only you'll take no damage if you succeed, and only half if you fail. So it basically just always bumps up how well you did against it. So as the examples are the Dragon's Lightning Breath and the Fireball spell, these are only like if they were to half the damage. This isn't like, oh, a dexterity saving throw against something that would knock you prone, a dexterity save against something that either it does damage or it just doesn't do damage. This is saying that if you were to roll to try to half the damage you're going to take, you will no longer take damage, or on a failed save, you only take half damage as if you succeeded against it. So an extremely powerful and beneficial thing, especially because your dex is fairly high and it is something that you're proficient in. So at this time, I believe you'd be getting probably like a +8, because 3 proficiency, 5 dex. So you'd be rolling a +8, and as long as, if you're ever succeeding, no damage for you. If you fail, it's still only half damage. At 7th level, you'll also gain Stillness of Mind, which allows you to, as an action, just to end either the Charmed or Frightened condition. And it's not just, you end it for that turn. It is you are just ending it. And it also isn't a limited amount you can do per day or per short rest. And it also isn't using ki to do this. If you are Charmed or Frightened, you can just use your action to end one or the other. So you can really just kind of stop some enemies' abilities to do stuff against you. Never really have to worry about enemies who charm you or enemies who cause frightened on you, because you can just end them. At 8th level, you'll get an ASI, Ability Score Improvement, or a feature. At 9th level, you're getting the Unarmored Movement Improvement, which is that you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during your move. But this is saying that you have to make it all the way across them on your turn, or on your move, or you will fall. So in your 45 movement speed, if you're trying to get across a 50-foot lake, you'll get 45 feet across, and then you will fall in on that last little chunk there, and then you can just swim the way. Same with vertical surfaces. If it's 45 feet or less, you can run clean up to the top of it. But if it's 50 feet or more, you'll run 45 feet up, and then you'll start falling again. So it is extremely beneficial, as you can now start just running up buildings or running across, lakes and ponds and ocean and whatnot like that. I wouldn't recommend using this when you're trying to run across lava, because yes, you'll run across it, you'll still take damage from it, but you won't sink in as long as you can make it across within 45 movement. Or more or less, depending on how much you have at this time. At 10th level, you'll be getting Purity of Body. Your mastery of ki flowing through you makes you immune to disease and poison. And this is diseases and poison is poison damage and the poisoned condition. Because it does not specify that is one or the other, you are getting them from both. So if an enemy were to cast, to hit you with an effect that would poison you, or if you were to get alcohol poisoning or food poisoning from something, it won't affect you. And then anything that would give you the poisoned condition will no longer give you the poison condition. So you are fully immune to all damage of poison related and all ways that you can be poisoned. You're just perfectly fine against them. And then you get a 20 movement speed increase from unarmored movement at 10th level. So your movement speed is now 50. And that is, of course, going off of the average movement speed of most classes, which is 30. Some of them are 20, some is 25. I don't know if any of them are 35 off the top of my head, but there might be. So any of those, you actually would be moving a lot faster because of it. You don't gain anything from the class itself, just something from the subclass at 11th level. So not much to really need to worry about at 11th level for the class itself, just your subclass. At 12th level, you gain another ASI. At 13th level, you're getting Tongue of the Sun and Moon, which allows you to speak and understand every language. So you no longer have to worry about like how many languages do I know, what languages should I know. If an enemy speaks a language or somebody speaks a language, you'll know it, and whatever language you speak, they'll know it. So if you start speaking in Elven and the other person doesn't know Elven, they'll still understand you because that's just how this works. You can use your key to touch the other people's minds. And if you don't know Undercommon and somebody starts speaking in Undercommon to you, you'll know what they're saying because of Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Very, very powerful ability to have. At 14th level, you'll gain Diamond Soul. Your mastery of Key grants you proficiency in all saving throws. So, naturally, you're proficient in Strength and Dex. You're now also proficient in Wisdom, Constitution, Charisma, and Intelligence. So all of them are getting your proficiency bonus, which makes it you're actually really good against saving throws, as even if you have a 0 in that stat, it automatically is a plus. I think at this time is either a +4 or +5 that you're getting as your proficiency bonus. So it is a lot easier to succeed on things. Additionally, whenever you make a saving throw and fail, you can spend 1 key point to re-roll it and take the second result. So if you ever roll like something just stupidly low and you really need to save against it, you can spend a key point to re-roll, but you have to take the second roll. So if you re-roll something and it's like, oh, I rolled a 16, but I needed a 17, and you re-roll and the second roll is a natural 1, you have to take the natural 1. You can't take the higher of the two. But you still get a re-roll, which means you probably wouldn't be re-rolling when you're super high, but if you are like terribly low and pretty much anything would make it better, you're probably going to re-roll. At 14th level, you also gain another unarmored movement. So now your speed increases to 25, so you get to run 55 feet per use of movement. At 15th level, you get Timeless Body. Your key sustains you so that you suffer none of the fertility of old age, and you can't be aged magically. Also, you can still die of old age, however. In addition, you no longer need food or water. So you can still die, and you can still die of old age. You just aren't gonna like slowly get weaker and weaker and like easier to hurt and like more frail as older people usually do. Your key allows you to stay at your physical peak, basically as a Saiyan would from Dragon Ball, where you hit your peak of physical capability, and until you're actually just to a point of age where you're going to die, you're basically always at your peak of strength and everything. And you also cannot be magically aged, which there's not a lot that can magically age you, but this is really going to be something that can help you out if something can magically age you. And then you no longer have to worry about food or water. So you no longer have to eat anything or drink anything. You'll be perfectly fine in that aspect. So no longer worry about buying food at the inn or buying rations when you're traveling. You're perfectly fine. At 16th level, you get another ASI. At 17th level, nothing, but you do get something from your subclass, so that is your capstone. Look out for that. At 18th level, you'll gain Empty Body. You can use your action to spend 4 key points to become invisible for 1 minute. During that time, you have resistance to all damage but force. Additionally, you can spend 8 key points to cast the Astral Projection spell without needing material components. When you do so, you can't take any other creatures with you. So maybe not something, I don't know, you easily could be doing the first one in combat to real quick just become invisible. And this also isn't like invisible through the invisibility spell. Even when you attack while invisible, you'll still stay invisible. It isn't the invisibility spell where once you make an attack or a spell, you like lose the invisibility. You're still going to be invisible during the entire time. And then outside of combat, Astral Projection is actually probably going to be more useful if you know when you should be using the Astral Projection spell. Of course, only you will be going with it, so just try to remember that. Also at 18th level, you'll gain 30 feet of unarmed movement, so you'll have basically have doubled your speed at this point, having 60 movement speed, so you're going to be zooming around at the speed of sound. At 19th level, you gain your final ASI, and at 20th level, you gain Perfect Self. When you roll for initiative and have no key points remaining, you regain 4 key points. So, an extremely beneficial thing that if you had used all your key points from time before, perhaps outside of combat you'd been using empty body and you did astral projection and maybe something else you've used your key, depending on how much key you have. You'll regain 4 of them, so in combat you can still use all your key related things. Your uh, Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, Step of the Wind, anything that you're getting from monastic tradition, throwing back stuff with Deflect Missile, your reaction to use Slow Fall, Stunning Strike, anything else that might be related to key, all extremely beneficial. Things to be kind of like focusing on when it comes to majority of monks, I would say, would be I would usually be a strength or a dexterity wisdom based one, as both of these are used in your AC calculation. Dexterity can be used instead of strength when attacking with monk weapons. Wisdom is used for a lot of like saving throws and key related things. And then of course Constitution is always helpful, and then focus on everything else after that. Probably more on like strength rather than intelligence or charisma, as you're more of a physical oriented character rather than trying to go for being the smart guy or the charismatic character on your team. Let that, let your intelligence be focused on by the artificer or the wizard, and your charisma can be focused on by a lot of classes. So, focus more on what you can do physically, and then wisdom is second. So dex, wisdom, constitution, strength, and intelligence and charisma, or whatever at the end. As optional features, of course, as always, consult your DM about whether or not these can be used. Some of the things that you'll be getting at second level, you can gain dedicated weapon. You can choose a weapon that meets the criteria, which whenever you finish your short or long rest, you can touch one weapon, focus your key on it, and that weapon counts as a monk weapon until you use this feature again. So you have to be proficient with it. The weapon can be simple or martial, and it still has to lack the heavier special properties. But this basically allows you to start choosing some, different weapons that might not be monk weapons to start with. So just a nifty little thing if you have some other weapons that you want to use in mind. At third level, you can get key fueled attack. If you spend 1 key point or more as part of your action on your turn, you can make 1 attack with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon as a bonus action before the end of your next turn. So, I mean, this one you can already do the unarmed strike using it, but now you can use a monk weapon, which, I mean, realistically, you'd probably be using that key point to just do flurry of blows rather than something like with this, or you'd be using, just something else, honestly. It seems like this one might have been given before everything else was added, but, it's interesting, and then you can get Quickened Healing at level 4, which allows you to spend 2 key points to roll your martial arts die to regain a number of hit points equal to the number rolled plus proficiency. So, a d4 to a d8, I believe, at max, which means that, it's kind of similar to the fighter's second wind ability of just that quick little burst of healing before you get back into combat. And focused aim at 5th level, whenever you miss an attack roll, you can spend 1 to 3 key points to increase your attack roll by 2 for each key point you spend, potentially turning the miss into a hit. So if you know that the enemy's AC is 18 and you rolled a 17 or even a 16, just real quick spend 1 key point to make it to where that attack actually hits. And of course you can go from 2 to 6 like increase on the attack roll from spending 1 to 3 key points. So definitely some pretty beneficial, like some good things here, as something that the Quickened Healing is very similar to what the fighter can do with Second Wind. The ability to increase how much damage, increase the chance that you hit them by doing this. Key fueled attack is like, I can see the one time that you'd want to do this is like you can use your action as part of your action. If you had, like, instead of using the attack action, if you had done something else, like maybe you needed heal, so you did Quickened Healing, or you had drank like a potion to heal yourself, and then you can use key to then make the unarmed strike a monk weapon, because naturally, in order to use Flurry of Blows or Unarmed Strike from martial arts, you had to have used the attack action on your turn. This way, you can still make an attack as part of the bonus action while using a key point that way. And then, if you have like a specific weapon that you would like to go into it, that are not just simple weapons or short swords, if you want just something else, then you can turn into a monk weapon using this. So just a nifty little added thing. Races that would be good for this, tabaxis, as they kind of naturally, they can switch from bludgeoning to piercing or slashing damage with their claws, and they also have the ability to double their movement speed on a turn, and then you just have to wait until you have to, like the next turn. You have to, if you don't move on the next turn, then you get the ability back to use it again, which basically means that you can, all the way down here when you have 30 additional movement speed, you're running from 30 to 60 movement speed. You double that all the way up to 120 movement speed. So you can be moving really fast, running up a pretty sizable wall, or running across a fairly decent sized like pond or pretty far into a lake to get somewhere. Some pretty fun things that you can do depending on what class you choose. But of course, any class can be good in the position of the monk, depending on how you want to play the monk. And also, if you have the origin manager thing, if you don't, then these will always stay the same, your racial traits. Origin manager lets you actually change those around. So, just a nifty little thing to have an added bonus that you can be putting on top of. Good feats would be maybe like Sentinel, Mobile, if you want to be even faster and not have to worry about like opportunity attacks after you've hit the enemy. There's probably a lot of things. I'd have to look at over all the features to be honest, but Crusher could probably be on there, as you're basically always going to be doing bludgeoning damage, so you can get like an added benefit when doing bludgeoning damage. So, look out for those types of things. Feats that would not be good that I can tell you, don't choose Resilient, because Resilient is usually chose if you want to become proficient in a saving throw. You eventually become proficient in all saving throws, so there's really no point to waste a feature on that, as you'll become proficient in all of it eventually anyways, so don't waste your feet on that. Try to focus on something else, I would say. But yeah, that is the monk as a whole. Went over the subclasses the other day. Now went over everything about the overview of the monk class itself, and not anything to do with subclasses. As always, optional features should be consulted with your DM before you just choose them. But yeah, look forward to the next video, which will be the Paladin. If you guys did enjoy this one, then consider hitting the like button and commenting down below what you guys did enjoy, so that I can continue doing it, to continue making the videos as well as I have been. If you guys didn't like the video, then go ahead and dislike it, and comment down below what you did not like, so that I can improve upon it to make the videos better for y'all. If you guys want to know when I upload, then the best way to know is by subscribing. But that does it for this video. Until next time, bye guys.